Call to order this meeting of the Wendell Town Board of Commissioners and welcome everybody that's watching with us tonight. I apologize for our late start. We had some technical difficulties, but we're ready to go now. We're going to be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Police Chief Bill Carter.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our invocation tonight from the Wendell Council of Churches, we're going to hear from Pastor Wallace from the Wendell United Methodist Church. Are you with us, Pastor Wallace?
Mayor Gray, can you? Yes, ma'am, I'm right here. It's a pleasure to offer a prayer for you, Mayor Gray and Commissioners. Let us pray together. Oh, Lord, we give you thanks for the day. We thank you for the opportunity to connect in this way, even if it is remotely. Lord, bless our technology, that it might be a mode of good work together. Bless the commissioners and Mayor Gray as they lead in our work together. Bless the meeting. Might it go smoothly. Might the work together be for the good of the town. Through Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any adjustments to the agenda? Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Commissioner Lewis, motion to approve the agenda.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Commissioner Joyner?
Aye.
Commissioner Deloach?
Aye.
Commissioner Lutz?
Aye.
Commissioner Boyette?
Aye.
That passes. Public comment period. The public comment process has been provided in advance of the meeting. The public had the opportunity to submit their written comments to the town clerk or were able to submit a request to participate via calling in the conference by emailing their name, address, and phone number to the clerk by Friday, December 11th at 5 p.m. Normally, the clerk would unmute anyone now who wished to speak. We have no one who has called in or requested to speak. I read this every time to remind you that you do still have the opportunity to speak, even though we are conducting our meetings virtually right now. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Commissioner Lewis, motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Commissioner Joyner?
Aye.
Commissioner Deloach?
Aye.
Commissioner Lutz?
Aye.
And Commissioner Boyette?
Aye.
And that passes unanimously. Let's move into item number 4, recognitions, reports, and presentations. Item 4A is the introduction of new Public Works employees, and we're going to hear from Public Works Director Brian Bray. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Board of Commissioners. I'm excited to be able to introduce our 4 newest members of the Wendell Public Works team tonight. 2 positions filled open spots, and the other 2 filled the spots that we received for this budget year. So my first introduction would be Miranda Saunders. Miranda started with us as an experienced specialist 1 assigned to our operations section. She previously served with NCDOT as a transportation worker 1 until she was laid off. We were very happy to be able to hire Miranda, where she operates limb, leaf, and now sweeper trucks. And she's always enthusiastically lending a hand with any other task that we may have. Miranda, would you like to address the board?
Hi, I'm just super happy to be here. I'm very, very excited to see where I can go working for the town of Wendell. I'm just very excited and finally able to plant my roots and grow, and I can't express how happy I am to be here. And I just want to thank everybody, and I'm just very, very excited.
Thank you. We're happy to have you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Very glad to have you, Miranda. Thank you.
Brian.
Edward? Next is Edward Allen. Eddie started with us as a specialist 2 assigned to our operations section. Eddie has a long career in municipal government, having served in public safety positions in the past, most recently with the town of Morrisville. Eddie has a wealth of experience with heavy equipment and municipal trucks. Right now he currently operates the limb truck, the leaf trucks, and the sweeper trucks when called to do so, and he can also operate pretty much any piece of heavy equipment that we have. So we're very glad to have him here. Eddie, would you like to address the board?
Yes, sir. I just want to say thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Eddie.
We're happy to have you.
Our next is Darby Bishop. Darby started with us as an experienced mechanic. He most recently was with the city of Raleigh, and prior to that, he served 26 years in the full-time North Carolina National Guard, where he retired as a sergeant first class over the maintenance section. So Darby helps keep us rolling with his mechanical experience and also his very unique sense of humor. So we're very glad to have Darby with us.
Yes,
Would
sir.
you like to address the board?
Yes, sir. I'm just glad to continue my service in public service. I mean, I've served my country for 26 years, and I love serving people, and glad to be part of the Wendell team.
Thank you for your service, and we're
Thank you,
happy to
ma'am.
have you.
Very glad to have you, Darby. Thank you. All right. And last, Joe. I'm excited to introduce to you our stormwater manager, Joseph Collins. This is one of the positions that we were able to add this year. Joe also came to us from the city of Raleigh, and he was there for 10 months after relocating from Washington State. Prior to that, Joe has a long history of public service in the state of Washington, where he worked 17 years for the Washington Department of Transportation and then 3 years for the city of Bellevue, Washington. So he comes to us with a wealth of environmental knowledge and experience, and he hit the ground running, making inroads with our engineer of record, with the regulatory agencies, as well as with the town departments. So very glad to have you, Joe. Would you like to address the board?
Yes. Just want to thank you all for the opportunity to serve in the community I live in. This is the closest I've ever worked to, or lived to my workstation, and I'm glad to be here as the town grows and help build it into the best town in North Carolina. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. We're happy to have you.
Thank you, Joe. That is everyone for tonight. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Board of Commissioners.
Thank you. Bear with us a minute. We've got to change over the people in the room. All right, item 4B is a presentation on downtown facade grant improvements, and we're going to hear from Planning Director Nikki Jones. Good evening.
Good evening. Mark, you wanna? This one right here? Nope, it's not up yet. Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. Hope you're doing well today. This agenda is basically a continuation of last board meeting's discussion around the facade improvement grant. Staff wanted to come back and make sure we're all on the same page and kind of rowing in the same direction as it relates to some of the revisions we've made, and certainly take any input today that you guys might have. So before I use an agenda, kind of a brief template of what I think we should probably discuss tonight, I'll jump right into it. So the board direction from the last meeting, making sure that we were clear on what the exterior improvements, eligible exterior improvements would be, timing for project completion, funding, and we also heard that we needed to have this complete by January 2021. Thought it was interesting looking at the history of the facade improvement grant. So as far back as I could tell, it's been in existence since 2002. Maybe even further, but I can find 2002. There have been several updates to this program over the years, most recently 2013, 2016, and 2019. And what I found interesting was that every time there was an update, it generally was around these four topics: the amount of funding available per facade, the eligible types of improvements, the timing of the submittal, and overall program budget. So here, staff has taken the liberty to make a few changes, but again, we wanted to hear from the board if you had any other recommendations. But here's some things that we kind of looked at. So the current policy states that an owner must wait 3 years to reapply. We thought that that could be too long, so we decided to say 2 years as proposed. Taking this into account, unless there is a new owner, that would possibly change things up. But again, this is up for discussion. So those are the two changes from the current and proposed. So the current policy says the project must be complete within the fiscal year. That could be challenging depending upon when you were awarded the grant. So we decided to say that it should be complete within 1 year of grant award. The current policy lacks clarity around whether or not signs are permitted. So we just flat out said signs were not permitted. The current policy notes $10,000 per facade. So, we kind of look back and look at what people were generally asking for. Generally, no one was asking for more than $5,000, so we thought $5,000 might be a good mark. That might allow us to also fund more projects. So before we even go to the next steps, maybe I can get some discussion going with you all. Is 2 years a good amount of time?
I think 2 years is a fairer position.
Okay.
I don't know, what do y'all think, instead of 3? 3 is a long time. Y'all have an opinion about that?
I think, Commissioner Lewis, I think 2 years sounds fair to me. I think that it seems like an amount where, any business, if you're needing a facelift or refreshment, I think that's a time when you're kind of thinking that, I think that allows flexibility as far as, do current updates and modernization to the downtown area, which I think encouraging, businesses to be more proactive in keeping their frontage fresh, and appealing is just better for the whole. So I think 2 years is enough.
Another question that we might want to discuss, is there a difference between a new property owner and a new business owner? The way it is today is it's both. It's either or. New property owner or a new business owner can apply for the grant. So, let's just say that it's this 2-year time frame. A property owner is awarded the grant, fixes the storefront up, then sells the property. Does that change anything? A business owner does the same. So what if a new business rotates through? Does that change the way the policy reads in your mind?
For me personally, I'm leaning more towards property owner, simply because if you read the list of things that are, it can be used for, those things aren't really specific to any particular business. And I feel like, lighting, awnings, painting, windows and doors, and they're more, things that are going to just make the building nice, and they aren't specific to a type of business. Does that make sense?
It does.
So I think maybe building owner would be unless you have a different opinion. And do you all have an opinion about it?
I have just a thought there, and I kind of flip back and forth between that thought.
Yeah.
The resale piece is an interesting one. What I would say is that I'd love for our property owners to be able to say to that business that they're actively trying to recruit, which is, those are the ones that we want, because you're having to try to lure them from somewhere else. Hey, we'll make these upgrades to the outside of the building if you'll commit to come here and sign a lease. so leaving that option there, I think you've done a really good job at kind of reining in the policy, and I like the changes you made. But at the end of the day, it's gonna be a policy decision by this board or whoever's sitting in these seats, and we can certainly filter that out. If we feel like somebody's trying to take advantage of the taxpayers, we can certainly vote no.
I had thought the same thing Commissioner Joyner thought. I kept hearing in my head was, it's taxpayer money. And so I feel like there's a little bit different bar of awarding taxpayer money to something as someone using their own funds. So, so I kind of was going back and forth about that, but I understand where you're coming from on that too. So, anyone else from the board, Commissioner Boyette or Commissioner Luce?
I'm sorry, I
Go
have
ahead.
one thought too with, and just, I guess, Mr. Jones, help me out, make sure if I were to think about it this way, if a property owner decided to deem, he seemed to deem that, from his standpoint, he wanted the windows and, the doors fixed, but the business owner wanted a new awnings, and I guess coming to agreement between those two, so by this rule now we have it, would the property owner be able to apply for a facade grant, and then the business owner, technically in the same, you'd be able to apply for the facade grant as well? Is the way it is now?
No, I think it reads currently, and I need to go back to make sure, but it would be either or, and then either or would fall into that time frame. Now, I think the change is where if one of them switches, so like if they're the new business owner or if there's a new property owner, that's where that change is going to be differentiated.
I would, Commissioner Loach, I guess when I think through it, I think of it as an improvement is an improvement. So whether that's the property owner or the business owner, I would have no issue with if a business changed every 18 months in the same building, but they're still improving the location. I wouldn't have an issue with that. We're eliminating signage anyway, so it's not like we would be funding signs. We'd be funding improvements that we would have the say-so over anyway. So
Okay.
I'm okay with business to business to business.
Okay.
Just my thought. I mean,
And
Yeah.
Commissioner Boyette,
Go ahead.
this is Commissioner Boyette. I'm fine with 2 years. I'm fine with property owner or business owner. I think we, or the board, definitely has the wisdom to filter out any sort of superfluous requests or whatever. And so I'm not too worried about whether it's just property owner or business owners included. So I'm fine with either one of those. I did have a question. When you say that an applicant has to wait for a property, how are we defining property? Because there are some buildings downtown where there are multiple addresses in one building. Either, there's, some such number North Main, and then some such number and a half North Main, and they're in the same building. One's upstairs, one's ground level. Can each individual address get apply for this, or is it per taxable property as how the county taxes it, or how are we breaking that up?
I think that's a great question, Commissioner Boyette. And I think in the policy that we revised, we highlighted addresses. Are we looking at addresses, or are we just looking at kind of buildings? So I think that's a great discussion to have.
Commissioner Loach, I guess I would fall back on the improvement is an improvement is an improvement. So that would really be, if you do it by address, you have multiple people in the same location. We still have the opportunity to flush out anything that either doesn't make sense or would be repetitive in nature. There's only so much money to go around.
Along those same lines, there are a few buildings in our downtown that have facades that face to public right-of-ways. So when we talk about the eligible facades, are we talking about both of those in the sense that you can apply within the same year for both facades? Or are we talking about, is it just one facade for the building over the 2-year period? Does that make sense? And again, you know.
As much as, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and I certainly appreciate it, but I would lean towards y'all not putting yourselves in these, linguistic handcuffs, if you will, and just, like, this is a guide, it's supposed to be a tool, I certainly want it to vet out bad applications so it doesn't take staff time, that's not something we have a tremendous amount of. But if something filters through that is just an odd case, I think the best place for an odd case to be decided is in front of this board, and just allow us to, right, wrong, or indifferent, make that decision. That way, we don't end up trying to rewrite policy, because I mean, the further we get into the weeds of the policy, that's why we likely have had to change it so many times, is because we've gotten very specific to prevent a specific thing and then didn't realize there was another turn.
For me, I kind of feel like you dealt with that when you said per address. So if there are several down there that have fronts, backs, sides, and I think we need to be very careful that we're not using, again, it's taxpayer money to do the front, the side, the back, I think we can use up what we have in one place very quickly. And as much as I love improvements and I want them to take place, I want it to be available for lots of folks down there. So to me personally, I think as much as I don't like to get in the weeds of things sometimes, I think that's the whole point of having this policy. And so that it gives you guidance in the planning department as people come in and want to apply for it. You can stop it from going through the whole process of the appearance commission and filling everything out and then coming to this board, and then you risk when it comes to the board maybe some inequity, and some people, if it's what we all view to be something favorable and exciting, it's not fair for us to put our feelings in it and say, yes, we want to do that, and then something might be just as great that someone else, but it just doesn't strike a chord with this group, and I don't want that to happen as well. So to me personally, I would rather see us say anything can be a facade, I mean, any of the sides, but I still would rather it be it's the same address every 2 years.
Same address.
That would be my preference. And it keeps subjectivity out of it, and personalities and things like that, and I think that's important. And I think the lack of that is the reason it's been changed so many times over the last few years, because we haven't had enough specificity about that's the whole point of this to me. So, right, does anyone else have any comments? Commissioner Boyette? Have we lost Commissioner Boyette? Okay.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I'm good.
But that's, I can't see you, so I'm just gonna ask you every now and then to make sure, that you've gotten to contribute like you would like.
No problem, thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
So certainly appreciate all your input. What staff will do is come back and take all the input from tonight's meeting and revise the policy again, and then take it to the Appearance Commission in January so that we can have it back to you all, maybe your second meeting in January.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. All right, item 4C is a presentation of new town hall design, and we're going to hear from Town Manager Collins.
Good evening, Board. Tonight my job is basically just to hand the mic over to our presenters. Tonight we have on the call Charlie Brown and Chris from Cummings, who are owner's project manager. But more importantly, we have our architects from Gensler, Rob Allen, and I believe Gina's also, Dina Weinberg is also on the call, and they'll be presenting tonight on the town hall project and its current status. So if y'all can help me with who's speaking first tonight, if you can unmute.
Only one of the phone numbers given to me is on the call, and I've just unmuted, Dina's phone.
Dina?
Hey, hi. I think if, is it possible to unmute Rob, or do I have to push the button?
Did he call in to the Uber conference line?
Rob, if you're on the call, you can hit, star 2 times to unmute yourself. I wasn't given, your phone number before the meeting, so I don't know which phone number is you, but
Hi,
Rob.
Megan.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Hey, it's Rob Allen with Gensler. Sorry about that. I wrote you back late, so my apologies. Thanks for having us today. And Mark, if it's okay, I'll take away a quick presentation. If you'd like me to navigate through the slideshow.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Rob Allen with Gensler. And Mark, I'm not seeing the...
And it's coming up.
Okay. Interesting. I could see it on through the webcam on the screen behind you there in the chamber.
But that's the wrong one. Hold on, sorry.
Yeah, sure. No worries.
It should be, superimposed into the regular
There it is. And are we able to share it on the Teams? It's on the projection, but I don't see it on Teams.
Is it on yours?
Okay. Sorry for the trouble, Mark.
Oh, no, it's no problem. It's just one of those nights. We have them every now and then.
When Nikki was presenting a moment ago, it was showing it to all of the external viewers on Teams. There we go. Thanks so much. Okay. Mark, I'll just ask for the next slide when we're going through. But hey everyone, it's Rob Allen with Gensler. I'm the project manager for Gensler. We're an architecture and interiors firm. We're in Raleigh, North Carolina, and we're pleased to be here tonight to present the new town hall. So I have with me from Gensler, Chad Parker, who is the principal in charge of the project and managing director of our office, and Dina Weinberg, who is the project architect. And I have worked with both of them for several years at this point. I believe we also have our partners from Cumming Corp, who are our construction managers, on the call. So just like to say hello to Charlie and Chris Whitley if they're out there. So thanks for all the support along the way. We can go to the next slide, Mark. So Gensler tries to start our projects with a sort of guiding star, and I realize we're probably, presenting this project to many of you for the first time, the first glimpse you're getting at it. But we really like to come up with a concept statement that really drives the purpose of the project. And so we came up with this description of the project that we feel really will guide the project, where we want the project, the new town hall, to represent the values of your community. We want it to instill pride in the residents of Wendell. We want it to be a welcoming facility that's open and accessible to the public, and a place that is supportive and inspiring to your staff. We want it to be a good neighbor. We know there are neighbors very close by, and there are neighbors from the community that will be visiting. We want to be respectful of the town of Wendell's context and its history, while also acknowledging that there's much growth happening, and this is the specific site has a lot of opportunity for future growth. We also want to make sure that we, as your hired design firm, are responsible stewards of both your resources and the natural materials that go into the project. So we can go to the next slide, please. So for those of you who are maybe less familiar with the specific site, we are looking at a portion of what many of you may know as the rec center site to the west end of 3rd Street, so just to the west of downtown. It's a large parcel, and we will be working to create a new site for the town hall. You can see there is a dotted line that creates, that's outlining the path to the west of the site, which is the Landing View Drive extension, which is not in place yet, but it will be happening adjacent to this project. We're looking to build on an open existing portion of the site, within what is an existing tree line in an open meadow, so that we are disturbing the site as minimally as possible. We want to provide views to the surrounding landscape. There's a beautiful pecan grove due west of the site. There is a deep existing tree coverage both to the south and the west of the site. And then to the north, there is a residential, the end of West 3rd Street, there's a residential zoning, and by zoning requirements, we want to be a good neighbor to them and screen from those properties with a vegetative buffer. We'll go to the next slide. So as we zoom in a little bit closer to the site and landscape plan and begin to see where we are currently, we're currently looking, as you can see, the building is effectively split up into 2 components. To the top of the plan, or the plan north, is a 1-story council chamber volume, and then to the plan south, there's a long east-west volume that is generally housing staff and support functions, and the white portion is a low-sloped roof that is a connector between the 2. You can see our parking is to the north, and running east-west along the side. We have that vegetative buffer just above that is to the, sheltering the properties from, to the residential areas to the north from, light from the parking and disruption from, this building's activity. We have what we're calling an entry plaza, which is designation number 3 on this plan. It's essentially a drop-off. So visitors would have the option to drop off their guests near the front door, or to pull in and park along feature designation number 2. We also have due to the size of the building and the parking layout, we do want to be sensitive to provide adequate parking, but not cover the site with asphalt. So we've provided item number 4, which is an access road. It would be essentially a hard packed gravel that would allow for service for fire access, service to the utilities that we're adding along the southeast corner of the building. That's a transformer and a generator. And then item number 5 is a stormwater detention pond, which will require hopefully minimal maintenance, but does need access. So that's what that access road, part of what it helps support. Item number 6 is what we're calling the Grove. It is an outdoor amenity area that has 6 specimen trees that will help enclose the rear of the entry lobby, but also have seating below and provide shade in the summer for folks to get away from the building interior for a bit. We do also have trash and recycling tucked away kind of in the northeast corner. That's item number 7. And I mentioned the tree and planting buffer, so we can go to the next slide, which will look a little bit closer in 3 dimensions. So here you start to see, this view is from the northwest. So this would be upon entrance near the parking area to the northwest. You can see we're trying to create 2 distinct volumes. We're using a gable roof line, which we feel like is familiar, but is also modern, durable. It should have a long-lasting material impact and be low maintenance for staff. The council chamber is on the left. It's a tall 1-story portion, and then on the right is the 2-story staff offices, and we'll go through the floor plans to talk through the different departmental locations. You can see we do have a front porch that has a low sloped roof, and it's a covered walk from the parking and the drop-off area to the main entrance. Mark, if we could go to the next slide, it shows a little bit better the approach to the entrance, but you can see the two distinct forms of the council chamber, 1-story to the left, and the staff portion to the right. The 2-story portion are connected by a 1-story kind of glass connector that should welcome people and be recognizable as a place of entrance for the building. We're trying to work with, like I said, familiar but very well crafted materials. So the building, we're looking at a brick base, cementitious siding in a few different profile shapes, so lap siding, and potentially a board and batten siding. I mentioned the standing seam metal roofing, aluminum framed windows and insulated glazing, and then some wood accents, and we're still working on defining the exact spec of that material, but we're thinking of a wood-like synthetic product, Trespa or similar, for minimal maintenance, but to provide some warmth. And then, of course, a little bit of real wood on the interior. Mark, if we could go to the next slide, please. So this is an enlarged floor plan of the first floor. And so we've tried to color code them to be pretty recognizable, but the blue are typically the functions that are associated with the council chamber and mayor's office. The light blue, so the first blue that I mentioned is the part to the top of the plan. I realize there's 2 blues here. The more turquoise to the left is the finance department. The green to the right is the planning department. The gray portions are support spaces, and then the pink is staff support, break areas, et cetera. So you can see that we have, we have the 2 distinct volumes. We've got a large, gracious lobby. So as folks enter from the plan north along number 1, the front porch, they will turn and enter into number 2, which is the main building lobby. It is a 1-story lobby, but we're looking at pretty tall ceilings there to create a more open, civic environment. It is glass on both ends of that lobby, so you'll be able to see straight through to the grove beyond. And then we have a vestibule to help control noise from the lobby into the chamber volume, item number 3. Yeah, thank you for mousing over these. The chamber volume does have some support storage and an AV closet. It has a bench along the front, and it also has, we're currently showing about 70 or 75 seats, but they are, seats, chairs that could be reconfigured, and you do have considerable storage for if there were functions that required tables as well. That portion has a support conference room where the council can adjourn from the bench to take a more private meeting. There's a support single occupant restroom there, a guest office, and a mayor's office located essentially in sort of a back of house corridor that connect those spaces back to the building lobby. As we move plan south, as a two-story building, you were required to have 2 stairs from the second floor. We do have an open stair right near the numeral 5 there, which we do think will be kind of a grand staircase and a very welcoming moment once folks enter the lobby from sort of the left side of the plan. There's an elevator immediately south of those stairs, so vertical transportation should be immediately recognizable. And then there are 2 staff desks for the staff support functions that we're calling the customer service lobby, designated by number 5. So the idea is that there would be gatekeepers for both finance and planning there in the guest lobby, and some guest seating with public restrooms nearby. We're also exploring the idea of a kiosk, a self-service kiosk adjacent to the customer service desks. We would control access next to those desks and have mainly a staff controlled, so card reader entrance there that would allow folks to come back to the break room, which is that pink portion that is number 6. Yep, thanks. And which opens onto a back porch, which is similar to the front porch, but is more of a staff type function. It will have a covered roof, but is generally for staff for day to day. On the left side of the plan, as I mentioned, is finance, and on the right side of the plan is planning. And the idea, just at a high level architectural idea, we came to the realization of the building layout pretty quickly, and we tried to create modular offices that could be repeated on both floors and allow the town flexibility. So as departments shift or push and pull over time, that as a department grows, they could expand offices from a different department. And also the 4 corners of the building are a little bit larger and make for department head or conference rooms sort of interchangeably. So you'll see we've got conference rooms in a few of them, and then other managerial offices in those corners. If we can go up to the second floor, that will be the next slide. The lighter yellow is the administration suite. We do have a small, so the grand stair comes up. We do have a lobby, and because you can enter that stair on the first floor, we do have controlled access as one enters the administrative suite. The bathrooms do remain, on the public side of that access, but we think that's okay given its more remote location. The administrative program includes a number of offices, a large conference room, and a small conference room, as well as a small support kind of staff copy, print, and coffee area on the second floor, just so folks don't have to go all the way down to the first floor for coffee, water, or to access maybe their lunch that might be in a fridge. The portion of the space that's the more orange color to the plan east is a future expansion space, which we are only minimally building out at this time to save on construction costs, but to allow for future growth whenever that may be, and follow sort of a similar layout to what you've you've seen on either the left side of this plan or the first floor. So with that, that concludes the overview of the project. And again, I'm Rob Allen with Gensler. I just wanted to also acknowledge our partners on this project. Of course, the town of Wendell. We've got a great steering committee, so thanks to everyone involved. Cumming Corp is our construction manager, and they are our gut checkers. They look after to make sure we're keeping in line with the program and budget. We've had a great partnership with them so far. Crenshaw Consulting Engineers are our mechanical, electrical, fire alarm, plumbing, and sprinkler engineers. Stewart is our civil and landscape architects and civil engineers, also our structural engineers. And then on the low voltage side, we're working with Logically, who are our structure cable and low voltage integrators, and East Wake TV, who's providing audio visual planning. So I will pause there, and if there's any comments, we'll try to help. But thank you, Mark, for navigating through the slideshow for us.
Are there any questions from the board? Comments?
I have one comment, Mayor.
Okay, Commissioner Boyette.
And it's minor, but I think I may have made this comment at one of the really early meetings before we even got to sort of that access road that you show going around the back of the building. I understand the desire to have non-pervious, but from a emergency services standpoint, a non-paved road is less durable and less reliable for emergency access. And from a town standpoint, a gravel road presents an ongoing maintenance cost that I think won't take very long to offset whatever savings there would be over asphalt or cement. And so it would be my suggestion just to go ahead and plan for a paved fire service access road going around the back of the building.
Thank you for that feedback.
Commissioner Lutz?
Yes, ma'am. One question I had was, going into all this is, what kind of discussions do you guys have on the exterior, the kind of the entranceway and that kind of, from a committee kind of standpoint discussion? I guess I'm opening that up to the design team or any of the board members who are on the committee as well.
Forgive me, I may have had some difficulty understanding the question, Mark.
The question from Commissioner Lutz, and Madam Clerk, can you perhaps check the mic for Commissioner Lutz and see if it's functioning? The question was, what input and discussion about the approach and design materials for the exterior of the building occurred? So if you can talk through the exterior materials and design discussion.
Yeah, well, sure. We've studied a lot of different materials, really starting with your location first. So we really want to make sure it's a building. You know, we've talked a lot about higher level concepts of the building belonging in Wendell, and we take that challenge very serious because it's not a homogeneous, building culture in Wendell. You've got some great old warehouses, some great storefronts, some beautiful historic homes. And so I think our charge was to build with materials that did not feel foreign there. And so that being our starting point, we began with what are construction systems that would feel common in this area. And so if it's masonry, we felt like brick would be a good masonry material to use rather than a precast or some other concrete, block did not feel as applicable. The siding also did not necessarily feel like it all wanted to be brick, nor did it all, so we started looking at other familiar siding shapes, and it felt like something that spoke to the history and context of Wendell might be a lapped siding or some form of board and batten if a vertical siding presented itself. And we felt like a cementitious panel was something that had a familiarity to it, but was also more durable than natural wood. So you would have less maintenance to it, but it would still paint very nicely, cut very nicely, and feel like a natural, a natural fit for the building. Same with the metal roof, seemed like a natural fit, and we had a lot of discussions about roof form, and many of you have been part of that. We appreciate your commitment to giving us feedback on that. The metal roof seems like it will be long lasting, and we've been thinking of a galvalume finish, which dulls over time. So there's not a painted finish that can be chipped off or worn off over time, but something that actually dulls and patinas nicely. And I guess finally, just overarching goals, just being about creating proportions that feel human and approachable and relevant. We want the proportions to feel like a building that's welcoming and not something that's trying to make an overarching architectural statement. So that's really how we landed on the materials that we have been designating for the project so far.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Sure.
I did just one more question with the, the site plan, I really like the site plan, I like the efforts that's been taken to, kind of blend it into what's already there. My concern is that with the, not only from looking at the building where we are, but understanding that the citizens who are using the park, and seeing this building, I felt like the entryway was a little bit more recessed, hidden, secluded. One thing you mentioned was having more of a inviting, welcoming. This is just Commissioner Luke's talking, and I'm in no way an architect or design person, but I feel like the entrance to the building seemed to be more hidden off, and more of the walls of the building and the facade of the building seemed to be more prominent, more than anything else. And I guess, just what are your thoughts on that, or I'll leave that there.
Yeah, I think that's, so what I heard is the entrance facade, a desire for it to feature more prominently was my main takeaway. Is that fair?
Yeah.
And I apologize. I'm having some difficulty hearing that microphone. I'm really sorry.
I think they keep turning my lights off on purpose.
Can we turn up his volume?
Well, it wasn't mine over here. Maybe it's just in a bad spot here. And I'm sorry. Oh, there we go.
That's much better.
Yeah, okay, I'm
That's way
sorry about
better.
that.
Thank you.
So,
Don't
so
apologize.
let me just repeat this again.
Sure.
So, from me as looking at the building, I love the site plan, I love the layout, I loved all the things you had done with it. My thought was looking at the building from the standpoint of a citizen at the park. The entranceway or the doorway seemed to be very hidden back in the building. To me, the first thing I noticed was more of the walls, ceiling, those type of things, or the roof, excuse me, and the entranceway, which in the statement or mission statement earlier, we talked about being more of an inviting pathway, more of a welcoming area. That seemed to be more recessed and more hidden back in there. And again, like I said a second ago, this is just me speaking as someone who has no architectural design background, but just making the entranceway seem more welcoming, more inviting to the citizens who are either approaching it from needing a site or needing help, or approaching it from, hey, I'm at the park looking at this building, and it seeming like a welcoming town hall, like we want our town to always seem very welcoming. So those are just my only critique of it. But overall, I liked, many factors about it.
Sure. Thank you for that. I think that's great feedback, and I'll admit, we've been struggling with a lot of those feelings internally, and I'll tell you, I think welcoming is not always about exclusively the front door, but understanding how you get there and arrive. And I think when you're mentioning the site plan, we studied it a lot of different ways with the arrival sequence, and we felt like a drop-off was very important so that folks did not enter into a one-in, one-out parking area and have to turn around to just drop someone off or to arrive at the building. Now, that could be right or wrong, but that drive-through access or entry plaza allowed us to essentially bring people to the front door, but it did also require that the building moves back a little bit away from the road. We are showing some plantings that might limit some of the view from the recreation center nearby. And all I can say is that we'd be willing to study that. As far as the arrival sequence go, we are hoping that, once you're out of your car and as you approach the building, that the sort of the piece that connects the two volumes will be glassy, illuminated, and open enough that you say, that's the front door. But I think first you'll see pathways to this covered front porch that seem inviting and direct you to the main entrance and draw you in. So that was really how we landed on both the building placement and the front door placement. I'll admit to you, we have studied bringing the entrance out beneath that front porch, and it starts to sort of dissolve that front porch experience, which we feel like the porch itself will be essentially what leads you to the front door.
Thank you
I hope that helps explain some of our thinking.
Well, and then thank you for walking me through that too as well. Like I said, I wanted to fit in well, and I agree with you. I think the drop off area, I like that. I think when you're maybe there on the ground, and you all have seen much more of these than I have, you'll have that feeling. But that was just my only thought. But everything else about it, the floor plan, I liked a lot of other features about it.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions?
One comment, Madam Mayor, on the
Mm-hmm.
question. So I'd echo Commissioner Lutz. One of my frustrations with our current town hall is if you tell someone to go to the front door, 3 different people will go to 3 different doors. There's not a clear delineation there. And it may just be this drawing. It particularly though let's see, on the gabled roof option 2 drawing, like that particular angle, I think illustrates what Commissioner Lutz was talking about a little bit better. It's just hard to tell, hey, this is the front. That may be something that landscape design, certainly could be identified differently. I might argue that adding more porches would help identify that. But if you guys wouldn't mind looking, I don't know if creating more height in that space in between the two would make it look more prominent. The only other question.
Noted.
The only other question that I had was for I guess both the guys on the call as well as our staff, size and space, do we feel like this is sufficient? I heard 75 people in the room. I know I've seen 100 in here before. Is that 75 in a socially distanced fashion? But also, and more importantly, y'all's space for staff.
So Rob, I'll jump in a little bit about the functionality of the space.
Okay.
The program and the number of offices matches all of our existing, plus our 10-year staff analysis positions. Plus, there's the shell space that can still be built out. Plus, the building is situated on the site and built in a way that additions can be added to the front and rear of the structure. So it's designed to be a permanent site for a town hall that can grow with the town over time. Staff is excited about the functionality inside. Also, the flow of the council room allows for that multi-purpose room that y'all talked about as a commission at your work session. It'll have the flexibility of an early voting site or a community charrette or community meeting of some sort. It could operate as an emergency operations center in a hurricane, with having that being the part of the building that has full generator power. It's a very functional space. Typically, a planning inspections code tends to be in a growth community, your larger growing department. So the ability of finance to shift upstairs and build out that shell space over time allows for that growth. So from a functional standpoint there, that's great. Rob and Dina, y'all might just talk about, my understanding, if I recall from our prior conversation, is that the boardroom seating is consistent with the seating in other communities.
I think that's right, Mark, and the 75 number I gave was based on the number of seats shown on that plan. No, that is not a socially distanced seating arrangement, so we could certainly prepare one of those, but that would probably take that seating count down. We could definitely add more seats, so 75 would not be, say, the posted occupant load. I would need to go back and look at our life safety counts for the total number of occupants for that room, but we have pretty generous aisles within the room and our initial layout. So we can, I would say that getting 80 to 100 seats is not impossible, but we can get you a more accurate number, a definitive number of the maximum capacity with a chairs only scenario. We could also look at a socially distanced option if that is preferred, using essentially 6 foot spacing, if that's the benchmark you would like us to use. The last thing I will just say about, I'm hearing multiple people mention the wayfinding and finding the entrance, and I do think something you're not seeing in our renderings would be wayfinding, signage, some sort of indicators that you have arrived at this building. We are trying very hard to funnel folks into the building in the fewest number of entrances, and then providing our additional code-required exits in a manner that they are not, say, confused for being an entrance. So really, we only have 2 key entrance points, and they're at the front and the back of the lobby, and they basically funnel you into that same lobby and customer service lobby area. So we're hopeful that the landscape path always leads you into the right place.
Rob, just a clarification on that, the drawing doesn't provide for any exterior landscaping or site work. This is more of the building design that you're showing. So like the differentiation between a walkway and a landscaped area that would show a person where to walk to a door isn't shown on this site plan.
Sure, yeah, it's tough, Mark, because the site plan is really trying to capture, you're right about that, it's trying to capture, the entirety of the site, and so it's probably zoomed out to a point where it doesn't have the distinguishable path beneath the front porch, but I'm trying to think of a more clear way that we could show that. But I think I think including it on those enlarged plans the next time we show it, making sure, I think that would be an easy way to distinguish it on just the enlarged floor plans. That's a good point.
Commissioner Deloach?
Can you hear me okay? It's Commissioner Deloach.
Yep, thank you.
Couple questions. Seating in chamber, you said that, maybe I misunderstood. Is that a temporary seating setup that you can move in and out or move around? That might solve some of the social distancing.
They would be modular or, say, stacking chairs that could be rearranged, but not fixed seating.
Okay, thank you. And the stairwell going upstairs from the lobby, would that be a coded or a card swipe situation, or would that be public access?
The stair itself would be open, because we wanted it to feel accessible and open. It does not have a rated enclosure on it. One of the other stair does have a rated enclosure, but because it wasn't walled in, we thought it could be a feature, and there is access control anywhere beyond that stair. So you would not be able to, say, get further than the customer service lobby or the second floor landing. And that seemed to hit the sort of sweet spot of accessibility, openness, but also access control.
Okay, thank you for that. And I will add that I was a little confused on what the front of the building actually was, if it was where the breezeway drive-through or the parking lot side. So just so I'm clear, the parking lot is adjoining the residential, and there's a tree line in between. Is that correct?
That's right. So we do have to provide a vegetated buffer between the adjacent residential zoning, and so there would be a continuous vegetated buffer, then the parking, and then the building, so that the building is not right up against the residential, nor is the parking taking up the valuable parts of the site that are the most open and give the most views from the building, which we feel where the building is located, almost every window has a spectacular view out of it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Point of clarification, the Landing View Drive would be what the building is addressed to, the new road that's being constructed. And so the front of the building, the front facade faces the road, not the parking lot. The walkways will come from the parking lot only to those entrances into that lobby area. So it's a very natural way to walk. If staff park in the back end of the parking lot, they'll access the lobby in the back. The public parking a little closer would go underneath the front porch and access the front of the building, but it would address to Landing View Drive that's extended, the second entrance into the park.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right, well, thank you for being with us tonight. Did you have something you want to add?
Just for clarification, the design is really close to being finished and submitted for building permits. Is there anything any comments y'all want to make on, and after that, obviously, they get into letting for construction and ordering materials and things like that. So if there's any comment related to the design and structure, now's the time. It gets more expensive for us if we have to change something in the construction process after this. So
Speak now or forever hold your peace.
yeah, please let me know. Don't be bashful. This is the time that we're not hurt feelings. It's just going to be harder later to address something. So if you want more of a visual facade, it's going to cost more, and we'll either have to find savings somewhere else in the structure or functionality of the structure to improve that facade. Right now, what you're seeing we're fairly confident we can get done in schedule and on budget. And the limited budget also limits what this looks like.
Okay.
So,
I will
but
ask a
speak now.
question. If, Commissioner Deloach, so the shed roof was the previous version that we had, now we have the peak roof. I guess, why did we go away from it, and what would the difference in cost be? Is it cheaper, more expensive? Do we not know the answer to that yet?
No, the shed roof was the initial design. The feedback received from the steering committee was that it looked like a barn, and they didn't want it to look like a barn.
Okay.
There were some concerns about sheeting of water or ice back to the flat roof. That's from either building though, and there's a gutter system that would collect stuff, so that it's more of an aesthetic consideration. So if, you know, where's the board as a whole, either of those designs work. The initial design presented up until last week was that more of a single sloped roof
Well,
design.
I think the way I looked at it, maybe I was confused, is if there was a, you know, runoff into, you know, a wall basically, that was probably not ideal, but it seems like from the rendering here, that there's a pretty fair amount of space in between the two. I guess my question would just be on cost, if it's.
But both work on, from a cost standpoint, it's a design aesthetic consideration. Which is your preference? That's correct, Rob, right?
Correct, Mark.
Thank you.
So it's just an aesthetic, because I guess and that's where my confusion came in. If that's not the front of the building, the parking lot is there, you have the tall side, you have the slanted roof, so I guess the front of the building being landing view, then all of a sudden it changes. Was that we just didn't like the way that looked? We wanted a more traditional peak roof?
Well, I'll speak to that. I felt like it just, we had discussed, the whole board had, wanting it to look like a building that fit into Wendell. And as beautiful as that is, as hip and wonderful as it is, I felt like it might be something that the citizens would not be comfortable with. And that was a concern I had. It's a little unique. In addition to the flow of water, which they assured me there were ways to engineer that and manage that. So I'm sure that there are. But I feel like that's just a lot for people here. My opinion, and what y'all think about it. It doesn't look like a building that would have been here. And I felt like it's important that it not look, you certainly want it to look new and wonderful and beautiful, and we all want to be proud of it, but that's very unique. And I want it to maybe meet everybody's standards.
I saw it as particularly the slanted roof. I actually was gonna ask the architect, I saw that as an ode to this building and the mid-century modern design. It definitely looked like those buildings.
It's mid-century modern looking, yes.
Yeah. But that's certainly prominent in our town.
Yeah, and I don't disagree at all with that. I mean, I don't want it to stick out, like a sore thumb necessarily. I guess mine is, was there a cost reason for that, or was it just an aesthetic?
Aesthetic.
Is what we're looking at more expensive or less expensive than what we were looking at previously?
Both roof systems work within the budget as aesthetic.
Regarding the front door and the questions that have come up about the front door being very apparent to people who are coming up, maybe I'm just assuming, but I feel like where that's all glass and we're just looking at these drawings, when people are coming up, there will be lights in there, and it will have a different appearance, and so you'll see the part of the building that we were just discussing, the boardroom portion, and then to your right, the staff portion, and then the glass part will be illuminated because it's glass. So hopefully that would help draw people's eye to the door as well, just from lighting.
I will say, we're in a building that has like 9 exterior exits right now, and this will go down to 3, maybe, no, 4, with the, second emergency stair exit. So it will be an improvement from our current building on where people go or be able to find the front door, that's for sure. But yes, correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, but the glass lobby area differentiates between the two buildings, and when we're open, that would be the light and the obvious place to go compared to the building wall.
That's right, Mark.
Are there any other questions?
I was just gonna add too, I didn't wanna be the person who came in, you know, as Mayor Gray, you and Commissioner Boyette, and I know the rest of the crew have done so much work on this one. And I unsuccessfully, you know, had tried to I've done this in the past with another project, and I learned about myself that I am just, I'm not good at this. It's one of the things where I can see, and it just, sometimes I just know it when I see it, and I don't know how to word things out, but, so I was, in no way was trying to be difficult or be, you know, disregard y'all's hard work at all too. That was just my observation where I felt like, and maybe as I'm still looking at it, maybe to me it's more of the fact that when I look at the building, that the first thing I see is there's the right side of the building, and that front facade just sticking out. I love the front porch, and the roof to me either way does not bother me, but that maybe it's just that right side. I feel like that's sticking out so much. That's just all I notice, and therefore that is one that door seems so much more hidden back in there, and that could be just be my reaction of it too, and where, you know, where landscaping and wayfinding, other things may make a difference, but that was just, you know, my difficult opinion, I guess. Well, I do. I do, and I have no doubt that our citizens, if they pulled up in the drop-off line, would have zero trouble finding the front door. I mean, I have no doubt about that. Like I said, maybe it was just my impression of seeing that right side, how it sticks out, and it's like that just seems so prominent as a fixture that the door to me was hidden back in there, and I just had a hard time getting past that.
So,
that was it.
So if I said, if there was more architectural detail on the larger massing building on the right, to break it up a little bit, that would help what you're talking about.
That might help, but even I was just trying in my head thinking of that front porch, and if I just pictured it wrapping around to that right side, and I'm not advocating doing that, but maybe just that separation or that other element there would make that seem less obvious. I don't know the correct word for this.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the front door is kind of in the corner, in a way. And maybe and if we put more architectural detail on the large building, that might hide the front door even more. I don't know if that's necessarily the solution. I think he just wants the front door to be more visible and with people when the moment they come up, not because they had to read a.
So if it's a giant barn, side of a barn, and then there's a little door on the front, you're looking at the giant barn.
I think.
So if you break up the barn into segments per se, the door stands out as a more equal size compared to the barn?
I would not agreement on that. I think that is more kind of my fantastic. I wish I could have said that earlier, but that's more my thought. I think that right side just being so prominent, and if we could break that up or just, you know, make that seem more equal with everything else, then that door doesn't seem, that left side doesn't seem so tucked back. It seems more equal, and that's perfect, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob, Dina, and team.
You're welcome, Mark. Thanks for having us. Thanks for the feedback.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
I have a couple of points. One, I personally preferred the shed roof. I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it looked pretty good. I didn't think it was that much of a stretch, but I don't have a problem with the more traditional roof either. And so I'll leave that for others. The one thing I would request, and this ties in with the usability of the building, for the employees, which I think should always be first in our minds. And that is, I would like to see real, regular light switches in this building. No occupancy sensors, no motion sensors. And I got a couple reasons for that. I think they became popular, to save energy and, with green building standards and things like that. And I don't discount that they did that, but with the rise of LED lighting, I don't think they're needed anymore. LED lights that are commonly installed in buildings like this are so energy efficient that it doesn't really matter. The other thing is, when you automate sort of these mundane processes, and these things that only really matter to the employees, it almost takes away some of their control of the building. There's an occupancy sensor in my office at the fire station, and I don't have to sit there very long typing up fire reports before the office goes dark. And then I'm sitting there going like this, trying to get the lights to come back on, and I think it's ridiculous. And so I would like to see just leave the lights and, to a certain extent, the HVAC controls as simple as possible. I know it's another point is to get the HVAC controls, computer controlled and on all sorts of programs and everything else. And that becomes a big hassle when somebody's office is colder than somebody else's and they would like to warm it up a little bit, and you take control away from the people who are actually working in the building, and you hand it over to a computer. And so I would like to see just regular thermostat controls in the building if it's possible. I like to see regular light switches, no timers, no occupancy sensors. I understand in some places they make sense, but for the most part, it's just unnecessary, and it makes the building feel almost like the employees don't have control of their own space. And so I'm not sure if this is the exact point to make that when we're talking about architecture and structure and things like that, but I didn't want to miss my opportunity to bring that up. And I know I've brought it up in some earlier meetings, and so I just wanted to reiterate that. Thank you.
I have one
Gable
more.
roof or barn shed roof? Are we gable,
The one that slants,
the slant,
Shed.
or the V?
the one that slants down towards the entrance makes more sense to me if we're trying to draw out that entrance.
With one
Yeah.
gable,
Preferences.
two slants. I'm sorry, Mayor.
Well, and again, I'm looking at them now as we're talking about it. If we're not, pushing back that right side, I just think it sort of feeds into it, probably gives more light, and height on that other side. I'm just not opposed to it.
You're not opposed to the,
I'm not
Yeah.
opposed to the shed.
Shed.
yeah, I'm doing like you're doing, Commissioner Deloach. I'm just kind of looking back and forth at it, kind of giving myself the 1-2 choice. And I think I kind of like maybe kind of lean towards the shed a little bit.
I
But-
love the way it looks. I'm just concerned what people,
know.
the citizens are gonna think about it. That's my biggest concern, so.
I like the increased amount of light that it would look like it would draw into that room.
I feel like it lightens up that side of that building while making it look, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know.
And for
I like that.
direction purposes, I think you'd be able to easily identify.
So, single slant roof,
That's fine.
okay.
I'll defer all comments I get to all of y'all.
Got that, Rob and Dina?
I
Yeah,
think-
Mark, well, we'll look for the official minute.
I have
But,
a
no,
comment.
thank you.
A quick comment, we keep bringing up about, and I think it's innocent, early voting, but, and that was maybe an example that I might have even used way back when I was referring to us having a room, kind of like there was in the town hall in Garner where we were last year, but on the first floor that could be used for public engagement opportunities. But I think we need to be careful saying early voting, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they need your room for a month and they lock it. And so that makes this room not accessible for that. And I know that I just don't want to put it out there into the world and us have to tell them no. So I think we need to be careful of that. And it certainly can be used for some training opportunities. I'd love the League and School of Government to come and use it, because they travel around. That's kind of what I had in mind as well. So. All right, are we done? Okay, let's move into our public hearings. The public comment process has been provided in advance of the meeting. The public had the opportunity to submit their written comments to the town clerk, or were able to submit a request to participate via calling in the conference by emailing their name, address, and phone number to the clerk by Friday, December 4th at 5 p.m. The clerk is going to unmute everyone who's requested to speak in the order their requests were received. You have 5 minutes to speak. Please note that the board will take action on these public hearings at the January 11th, 2021 Town Board meeting according to statute, and the public has 24 hours after today's meeting to submit written comment to the town clerk. So, item 5A is a public hearing for a non-contiguous annexation for two parcels totaling 94.29 acres, 45.75 acres for PIN number 17743977752, and 48.54 acres for PIN number 17743809119, located at 5301 Rollsville Road and 5329 Rollsville Road. And we're going to hear from Assistant Planning Director Brian Coates. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The two public hearing items are related tonight for the Wake Tech proposed campus. The first is a public hearing for the non-contiguous annexation, and the second public hearing is actually on their rezoning. Wake Tech staff will be doing a presentation for the next item. They are going to not do their whole presentation for the annexation. So the first public hearing is, as the mayor mentioned, is for the totaling roughly 94.29 acres annexation request at the intersection of Rollsville Road and Wendell Boulevard. The item will be back before you on Monday, January 11th. And so we'll go over the item summary. Wake Tech has submitted annexation requests for two parcels. Their proposed campus is actually three parcels. The one parcel is already in our city limits along Wendell Boulevard. The two parcels are currently in Wake County's jurisdiction, and they requested annexation because the campus would have municipal water and sewer as it moves forward. As I said, these parcels are located in Wake County's jurisdiction and are currently in their highway commercial conditional use zoning district. The applicant has submitted an application to rezone the parcels, which is your next public hearing. The proposed annexation area would require services from the town's police, public works, parks and rec, if annexed in development. And developed secondary service impacts would be on other town departments like planning. Water and sewer is readily available. Fire district doesn't change. They are anticipating having some private roads and things on the campus, so they would not be town roads as they move forward. The utilities would be served through the Wendell service area by the City of Raleigh Utilities, and then there would be some other impacts based on design of the site. And I can answer any questions that you have on the annexation at this time.
All right, let's open the public hearing. Are there any questions from the board? I believe you stated we're not going to hear from the applicant tonight.
Yeah, the applicant's going to...
In this item?
Yeah, the applicant's going to do their presentation under the rezoning item.
Okay, any questions from the board? All right, we'll close the public hearing subject to the receipt of comment for the next 24 hours. Item 5B is a public hearing to rezone approximately 105.85 acres from Wake County jurisdiction heavy commercial conditional use and Wendell jurisdiction highway commercial to Wendell corridor mixed use. Mr. Coates.
Yep. Good evening again. The rezoning before you is related to the Wake Tech East Wake campus. As the other item, the annexation, this item will come back to you Monday, January 11th, 2021 for your action. The applicant, in this case, is Wake Technical Community College, is requesting to rezone 3 parcels. 2 of those are in Wake County's jurisdiction. 1 is already in our city limits. The applicant's requesting a rezoning as part of their intent to develop a community college campus and its programs on the site. This type of rezoning allows for the campus to be a permitted use within the corridor mixed-use zoning. Location, as we said earlier, it's at the intersection of Rollsville Road, Wendell Boulevard, right at the I-87 interchange. Current zoning is with Wake County for 2 of the parcels. The requested is corridor mixed use, which is a common zoning along the Wendell Boulevard for our jurisdiction. The request areas are roughly almost 106 acres. Property owner is Wake Tech. They purchased the property recently, and they are the applicant of this rezoning. Subject parcels are currently located nearby our RA, R4, R3 conditional zoning districts. The far eastern side of the campus, which has Buffalo Creek running along it. The other side of Buffalo Creek is Edgemont Landing and Harmony Landing, which was recently approved. So some residential. To the north is I-87. To the south is a mix of uses from, a state employees credit union to a manufacturing facility, and the Buffalo Creek flows down towards the town park from there as well. So there's a mix of uses in that area currently. Comprehensive plan defines this area as our S5 intended growth. Intended growth areas are typically within a half mile of a high-capacity regional thoroughfare such as Wendell Boulevard and the US 64 bypass I-87 intersection. Appropriate uses in that kind of classification are higher density mixed-use centers of employment, commerce, and residential uses. That area is also part of a town center mixed-use activity center with employment and commercial uses that attract people from beyond the immediate neighborhoods and from the surrounding communities. This is exactly what the East Wake Wake Tech campus will do. It'll serve a hub for the eastern part of the county. These town centers are envisioned as locations for regional commercial employment developments as well as higher density housing. The Wendell Boulevard Gateway Corridor also is in this area and does have some extra buffers and streetscape for projects along that corridor. Here's a map showing the framework plan. Planning Board at their November 16th meeting did vote unanimously to recommend approval of the requested zoning map amendment and adopted the statement of plan consistency and reasonableness. Staff is recommending approval of this rezoning, and I can answer any questions that you have, but also Wake Tech is prepared to do a presentation as well.
Let's open the public hearing. Are there any questions from the board at this time? Would you rather wait or ask all along? It's up to you. All right, let's hear from the applicant.
Who's presenting first?
Jeff Carter.
Let me pin him up.
Jeff,
Mark, can you bring the slides up, or would you like me to do that?
if you could, that would be helpful.
Let me see if I can share these.
It's
Can you
visible,
see that?
Jeff. Yes, we can. Thank you.
Great. Well, good evening, Mayor Gray and board members. My name is Jeff Carter. I'm the Vice President for Facilities at Wake Tech Community College. With me tonight are Dr. Scott Rawls, our President, and Dr. Gail Green, our Executive Vice President. Also, 2 members of my staff on the construction side, Kathy Montiero and Sarah Burnett, and Rajit Ramapur with SEPI Engineering. We thought we'd give you a rundown of our master plan for the campus in Wendell that we have planned. Going to assume that you don't have all the information on around Wake Tech. So just some facts and figures to start us off with. You know, Wake Tech has over 70,000 students. We have over 30 or nearly 31,000 degree programs and almost 40,000 non-degree programs. We're educating a lot of students in the county as well as pulling students from outside the county. We have some major programs. Our non-degree programs include economic development, continuing workforce education, a lot of continuing education for adults. Included with the more degree type programs are our university transfer students and career programs, as well as college and career promise, which includes many of our county high school students. Currently, we have 10 campuses. 5 of those campuses are owned campuses. 4 of them are leased campuses, and the 10th campus is our online campus. In fact, Wake Tech was just voted #1 online school in the nation by some pretty prominent agencies. What we're proposing for the Wendell area is a brand new campus. As you heard Brian speak earlier, it's almost 106 acres. It's right at the intersection of I-87 and Roseville Road. We purchased the land in August of this year with the intent to begin developing the campus in the spring of 2021. Just to give you an idea of what we've developed so far in the master plan, along the north side of this plan is I-87, along the west side or the left side is Roseville Road. So we have pretty much developed the campus to where we have a center helix of 6 buildings in here. This is our main educational portion of the campus. Over on the left-hand corner is what we titled our public safety campus. We'll have some driver training over here for emergency vehicle training, as well as truck driver training and potentially motorcycle training. In addition, there'll be a simulation building, which is building number A here, and then a central energy plant. We'll get into a bit here with Dr. Rawls about some of the programs behind these buildings. Up in the northeast corner is a extenuation of the emergency rescue training, probably a fire tower up here, potentially some greenhouses for a bioag program. And then in the far lower corner, on the out years, is programs for residential and commercial areas. So with that, I'm going to ask Dr. Rawls to help us understand a little bit better our programming for this campus, and then we'll come back and look at the phasing.
Well, thank you, Jeff, and good evening. I hope you can hear me this evening, but we're very excited. Thank you for this opportunity this evening. We're very excited to be a part of Wendell and looking forward to this opportunity, which we think will be great for our students and our community, and hopefully for the region as well. This campus, it will offer a variety of opportunities, but it will have a specific theme to it. If you notice, we call it the East Wake 4.0 campus. That's because in phase 1 will be 2 unique facilities that are funded through the bond funding, as well as a third, what will be a general facility. And through those phase 1, which will move quickly, we will be able to offer, I think, some very unique education, employment, and economic development opportunities, particularly through the programs and partnerships. Why we call it 4.0 is our different campuses have taken on different themes over the years in terms of their emphases, different programs at different places. This site we see is really a site for the future. That's what 4.0 refers to. It is the terminology of what's sometimes called Industry 4.0, the time where we have connected infrastructure through the Internet of Things and a variety of different technologies ranging from big data to 5G and others that are merging to really kind of change the technology future. And you will see that theme in terms of the programs we offer, which will really be programs that allow for individuals to train and be educated for that type of future. The first building that would be built is Building A, which is what we call Public Safety 4.0. It'll be a very unique simulation building where folks from across the region will be able to use that for enacted simulation. Inside is like a little city. We'll also have two unique programs there. We'll initiate a new program in unmanned aircraft, drones, and a lot of very unique partnerships in terms of how that is taking place, the opportunities that can happen there. We also will be partnering with Elizabeth City State University, which is the University of North Carolina's lead aviation university. They're the only one that offers aviation degrees there. They have a national reputation in those areas, and so they'll be co-locating in that facility, which will offer a unique transfer opportunity. There'll be a unmanned aircraft pavilion beside it, which is item C, and that'll tie into the driving range, which will tie in for our work with law enforcement and others in terms of driving. So bringing together a lot of unique programs in that regard. Building E will be the second one built, second major building. That'll be more of a general classroom building and student support services. So all of our offices that support student services, ranging from financial aid, counseling, library, those types of things, as well as the general classrooms that students will need for general education, as well as college transfer programs. And we're having some very strong, we have a tremendous partnership with Wake County Public Schools in terms of dual enrollment programs where students in high school can take courses free of charge and get a huge jump start on college, as well as early colleges. We have 3 early colleges, are working on a 4th. We think there can be some unique opportunities tying in and with respect to that particular facility as we move forward. And then the third building, which would come along very soon after, is what we're calling Tech 4.0. And that'll be an area where the theme will be more around automation, robotics, advanced electronics, electronic kind of semiconductor opportunities. We will move our biopharmaceutical technology program there, which supports Glaxo and other companies like that. And so it'll have a very kind of future technology focus. I should have also mentioned in Building A, we will relocate our emergency medical science program from our healthcare campus to that location. So the theme really ties together kind of unique ways in which connected technologies are driving smart cities, smart manufacturing, smart infrastructure. Down the road, potentially depending on how our funding works, you'll see the area that has the fire safety, the diving pond that relates to our support for our community services in that regard. And then in phases 2 and 3, coming along with additional facilities, a STEM facility, a large workforce continuing education facility for other types of programs, a business IT facility, and then a more general education classroom building as opportunities can grow in the eastern part of the community. And as we do that, as we got to the very last building, we would need additional parking. So you see M is a significant parking deck. Once we got to that place, further years down the road. So the phase 1 will move quickly, and we think will really, the partnerships that we are developing, the corporate partnerships, the national partnerships in this regard, I think is not only going to be, it's not just going to be about facilities by any means. It's certainly going to have unique programs, but the partnerships will bridge together different parts of education. Certainly the close proximity to the high schools, East Wake High School was a major strategic factor for us in thinking about this. Our ability to do co-location with universities. We have conversations with East Carolina University to co-locate in the tech building. That's where many of our technician students will transfer if they want to go further for bachelor degrees. And also we work very closely with our very close partners at NC State, particularly in their smart manufacturing work. So we think we'll make a significant impact, not just in the educational opportunities, but the economic development opportunities that can arise by the opportunity of the campus and the general theme of the overall program areas. We call it East Wake 4.0. It won't technically be a campus until it's actually voted on by the state to be a campus. So until we get past phase 1, you'll hear referred to it as a site. That's kind of the official. There'll be a Wake Tech site for us, but eventually we would aspire for it to be voted to be a campus. That's based on the number of students who are there participating in the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ross. So, with that, we'll take a look at the phasing real quick. So if you think back to the fall of 2018, the good voters of Wake County approved $349 million for Wake Tech to expand and improve their programs. A major portion of that $349 million is being spent on this campus. When Dr. Ross came aboard nearly 2 years ago and looked at a different direction, which is how to get to the eastern portion of the county, we had some projects that were on the south campus, currently down close to Fuquay Marina. We had a project over at our RTP campus and one downtown at our health education campus that we have restructured and revamped into projects that will support this campus here. So the first 4 facilities that Dr. Ross talked about, the public safety building here, the general education building, and the technology 4.0 building, along with a central energy plant, and all of the infrastructure to develop the site, put in the roads, put in the piping, all the wiring, the sewers, the water supply and everything are fully funded in the first portion of, or the $349 million bond. In addition, providing there are funds remaining, and we think there will be because we're starting to see some favorable pricing on some of our projects, it looks like we might be able to bring in a phase 1A. Of course, that's still to be determined yet. Priorities could be changed. But if there is remaining funding at the end of this project, it looks like we'll be able to bring this one in. And then future funding, bond funds will have to bring in the STEM building, which will be up here in the corner, and the workforce continuing education. And then the third phase of it would bring in the IT building that Dr. Ross talked about, as well as another general education, and then development of the southern portion of the campus. This, again, could be some residential, some retail area down here, potentially if we need to have a parking garage, depending on the counts on the campus, we had positioned an area for it in this area. This is a view rendering of the campus along the north side here. You see I-87 running up, kind of looks more like a road than a highway on this drawing. Coyote Dealer is up here. Dr. Rawls mentioned our partnerships with the high schools, so East Wake High School is over in this area, very close, and a very good opportunity for us to improve, or to further develop and improve our programs with the high school. Over here on the lower right-hand corner is the Vishay Enterprises. There's the ABC store on this side, and then the CQ Credit Union, and then just off the drawing to the right-hand, or to the right-hand side is the housing district. So again, kind of the core of the campus, what we call the helix here, with our public safety ventures over here, and a little bit up on this side with some emergency rescue and training type facilities. Just a different view, kind of looking northeast along the campus. Again, I-87 on the north, you see the very first building that will be designed now is the public safety building, and then here is the general education building, the Tech 4.0, and then the further phases on the right-hand side. Another view from one of the platforms, again, the public safety building here, as well as, the general education building to the right, and the technology building, 4.0 building there. Just an update on our schedule. We have contracted with Skanska construction management firm, as well as HH Architecture, Seppi Engineering, and Stanford White Engineering to develop the infrastructure of the campus and to build the central energy plant. We've also just negotiated the contract with Boomerang Design to design the public safety building. So both of those designs are taking off now. It's our intention to have backhoes in the ground out here to start clearing with the blessing of your town planning commission and your planning department, probably in the mid to late spring time frame. That's all we had today. Is there any questions I can answer?
Are there any questions from the board?
Exciting.
we are very excited ourselves, and we're elated to be out here, and want to thank the whole town of Wendell. You've all been very accommodating, and I can project that we're going to have a very close partnership with this campus, as well as the township and some of the other commercial entities that are there in Wendell now.
All right, if there's no other questions from the board, is that correct?
Just
Yeah.
very excited about the project. Thank you, Dr. Ross. Thank you, everybody who's been working on this. Definitely a win for Eastern White County as a whole, but certainly a win for Wendell.
Anyone else? All right, I'm going to close the public hearing, subject to the receipt of comment for 24 hours.
Was there no one else on the line?
I don't think anyone had signed. I think the applicant had some folks, but I think he said they were done. Okay.
Okay, thank you all, Jeff. The board will take action on the item on January 11th.
All right, item 6A is a decision on a non-contiguous annexation for 2 parcels totaling 50.98 acres, and 37.854 acres for PIN number 17941576557 and 16.18 acres for PIN number 17942566786 located on 0 Old Zebulon Road.
Yeah, the item for decision tonight, the first item is 6A. Non-contiguous annexation is related to the Mackenzie Meadows project, which was approved in August. These 2 parcels were not already in our city limits, and so the applicant has requested annexation, which needs to occur to have access to utilities. I can field any questions that you have, but there was no change from the last meeting.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion.
Madam Mayor, for a motion to approve the annexation as proposed.
All right, so we have a motion to approve the annexation as proposed. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right, we'll poll the board. Commissioner Joyner?
Aye.
Commissioner Deloach?
Aye.
Commissioner Lutz?
Aye.
Commissioner Boyette?
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Item 6B, decision on a contiguous annexation for 4 parcels totaling 87.9 acres. I'm not going to read all the numbers. Located at Lions Club Road, JoJo Drive, and Morphus Bridge Road.
Yes, so this first item, 6B, is for an annexation decision based on the parcels related to the next item, which is the Harper's Glen proposed master plan subdivision conditional district. The annexation is for those parcels. It is a contiguous annexation, and I can field any questions. There's been no changes related to the annexation request. There are some additions to the zoning conditions that were before you last time on the next item.
Next item, okay, we'll do that then. Okay. If there's no questions, looking for a motion.
Madam Mayor, motion to approve the proposed annexation as proposed.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the proposed annexation as proposed. Is there any discussion on the motion? Commissioner Joyner?
Aye.
Commissioner Deloach?
Aye.
Commissioner Lutz?
Aye.
Commissioner Boyette?
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Item 6C is a decision on a request by Brian Duncan of the Spalding Group to rezone approximately 88.15 acres of property between Morphus Bridge Road and Lions Club Road within the parcels identified by PIN numbers 17932708110, 17932941123, 17931774440, 17933380878 to R7 conditional for residential development. Currently, the properties are zoned rural agriculture, residential 4 and residential 3 conditional use. Mr. Code.
Yep, thank you, Mayor and Council. So this R7 conditional district was before you at the last meeting for public hearing. the applicant, I'll go right to the conditions, has amended condition 1 as it relates to anti-monotony of the units, so that in order to promote variation in home appearance, no single-family front facade shall be duplicated for 3 lots in a row or directly across the street. For corner lots, this shall apply to lots catty-corner across the intersection as well. So that will provide a much more of a variation than the previous condition. Also condition number 6 related to foundations, top of slabs shall be elevated a minimum of 8 inches above finished grade, and then the grade shall fall a minimum of 6 inches within the first 10 feet away from the home to provide for positive drainage. The applicant from the Spalding Group, they are on the line if there's questions related to those conditions as well.
Any comments from the board?
Commissioner Boyette, does the item 6 address your concern?
Yes.
Madam Mayor, I'm good with the project. It seems that those things a lot of the items we discussed last time were addressed. I'd make a motion to approve the conditional district as proposed.
We have a motion to approve the conditional district. I'm sorry, I couldn't understand what you said.
Motion to approve the conditional district for Harper's Glen as
Okay.
proposed.
Okay, as proposed, okay. All right, so we have a motion to approve the conditional district as proposed. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right, Commissioner Joyner,
Aye.
Commissioner Deloach,
Aye.
Commissioner Lutz,
Aye.
Commissioner Boyette.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. All right, let's move into item 7. Other business, item 7A is an update by board committee, by town board members. The first is Technical Review Committee. We're going to hear from Mayor Pro Tem John Boyette.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A fun-filled TRC meeting was had by all. It was actually split into 2 parts. The first TRC meeting concerned Wendell Falls Phase 10. And I apologize if my numbers are a little bit off. I believe they said it was going to be 392 residential living units. This is a parcel that is just southeast of Wendell Valley Boulevard. It will basically be behind the fire station, but off of Wendell Valley Boulevard. Some of the items that were discussed was Phase A, 10A, which we asked about connectivity to other parcels. The connectivity being both road connections and pedestrian connections. On some of the plans, they were showing or on the plan, it showed some form of additional amenity in the middle of this. I don't think it's going to be an amenity the size of the farmhouse and pool, but it did seem like it was a rather substantial amenity center to serve the north side of the development. And so there was a lot of discussion about continuing sidewalks, pedestrian safety across some of the main roads, high visibility pedestrian crosswalks versus regular crosswalks. And then from a fire service perspective, the fire chief brought up some issues with some of the alleyways and whether or not they connect with the main roads, or we have some dead-end alleys. There were also some concerns raised by staff and myself about if garbage cans are going to be put on alleyways, then that means, especially a dead-end alleyway, then garbage trucks are going to have to pull in an alleyway and then back all the way out, which we thought might be a little bit cumbersome. But the developers assured us that they would look at all those things and perhaps come back with some revised plans. Some places it was going to be easy things to take care of, and in other places, a little more technical. The second TRC meeting that we held, virtually, well, both of them were held, with all members attending virtually, as far as I know. But the second meeting, was for Bell Grove. Bell Grove is 207 lots, 117 of those being townhomes. An amenity center, pool, bathhouse, a tot lot, open space, volleyball. There were some questions about the sewer connection and whether or not they had actually gotten an easement or had decided which way they were going to even run the sewer line out of the development. There were no street names on the plan, and it was requested that they go ahead and put on street names or at least label them. There was a question about a traffic impact assessment. And, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even mention, this is off of Lions Club Road. It would sort of shoehorn in behind the actual Lions Club and back up to the Wendell Swim Club. And so there was some discussion again about pedestrian connectivity out of the neighborhood, sort of trying to get away from making these insular neighborhoods where the only way in or out is in a car through the front entrance. And so there was some discussion about pedestrian connection to Wendell Swim Club. And then there was also some discussion about some of the stub streets that were left short of the property line, and whether or not they were going to have to be fee in lieu of because they didn't continue all the way to the property line, or why they had been left short of the property line, which was because of an easement granted to a neighboring property owner. So, all in all, both meetings went very well, and I think we had some really good discussion. And that was all for the TRC.
Okay, thank you. Wendell Volunteer Fire Department, Commissioner Joyner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Fire Department Board met last week. Top of mind and top concern was the COVID-19 numbers that at the time Chief was updating us about the Oliver House location, which is listed as an outbreak. And the changes that have been put in place for the fire department again. I know that masks can be uncomfortable for us, but the fire department is now wearing them constantly inside the building. The only place that they're not wearing them is when they're in their own sleeping quarters, which is another quandary because all of our, we have uniquely different fire departments. Sometimes space is smaller than others, and for Station 2 guys, that's a really small space. So just looking at all those options, and that was the fire department report.
Right. Moving to our commissioners' reports and start with Commissioner Joyner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Before I start, I'll just say Merry Christmas to all. I know the holiday's coming. Last week I discussed our COVID numbers in Wendell. In previous weeks we'd had 20 to 30 cases each week. That's kind of moved, dating back for quite some time. Last week that number jumped to 136. Each week I've asked each and every one of you when we're at the meetings to do three things: wash your hands, wear a mask, socially distance. Wake County reported the Oliver House had been identified as the site of a COVID outbreak. That means there's multiple cases inside that facility that houses some of Wendell's most precious and vulnerable elderly residents. That also means for the next several weeks, while they seek to care for the patients and prevent further death and further spread, that family members will be unable to visit their family and their loved ones who reside there. As a family that recently lost a grandmother, I can assure you that the thought of not being around my loved one in their final days is unimaginable. Unfortunately, that is the case for Wendell residents as well as the Wendell residents that live within the Oliver House. The ask, in my opinion, is common sense. The risk, they seem like something that we could all rally around. The risks are real, and like our case count, they continue to grow each day. Just this week, we've heard our schools are likely to go back to a virtual space or close again. Businesses are facing new regulations that are imposed on them. Our nursing homes are locked down and the families are locked out of the nursing homes. Our frontline workers are sent into situations every day where they're forced to choose between their ability to help others and their ability to expose their families once they leave work. Wendell currently leads Zebulon, Rollsville, and Morrisville in COVID-19 numbers while trailing them in population. The mom that works a late night shift at McDonald's just got notice 2 weeks before Christmas that her hours are going to be cut. Our fire department now gets to spend their days off getting COVID tests in between long, stressful days of COVID exposures as we approach the most unusual Christmas season to date. At the end of the day, complying with CDC best practices is, like all things, a personal choice. While that choice is personal, it's not free of consequences. Consequences that are real and often impact others, not just the person making the choice. It's a lesson our parents taught us. It's easy to make analogies about the whole class feeling the effects of a few students. I can assure you that making points for the sake of making points is not something that anyone has the energy for at this point. Those people that work at the Oliver House that are now taking care of those residents live in our community. They shop at our stores. They're members of our Wendell family. Ensuring that we do our part to keep those places safe is part of everyone's job. We have businesses that have gone above and beyond to adapt in new and creative ways in the time of COVID, many of who I know are tired of dealing with the stress that all of this has caused. Those folks are leaders. I want to thank those folks personally, and I want us as a community to do the same. You guys are Wendell. You're what will get our community through this pandemic in a safe way, and I want you to know that I pray and thank you daily. This is a time for our community to come together. It's a time for leaders to lead. To paraphrase Hamilton, winning a popularity contest is easy. Governing or leading at this point is harder. I can't assure you it will be easy, but I can assure you that it will be easier to achieve this goal together than it will separately. Doing what's easy is not what got our community to this point in history. I'll remind you that we were founded by a group of folks that were brought here because of a bacterial disease in Granville County known as the Granville wilt. It challenged and threatened their livelihood and everything that they knew, and they rose above it. While Granville wilt and coronavirus are quite different, I believe our community, which was founded out of adversity caused by a disease, can and should collaboratively work to overcome yet another challenge. We can wear a mask, we can wash our hands, and we can keep our distance. We can each do our own part. I want to thank our community leaders. I want to thank our police department, our fire, EMS, and our frontline workers, and I want to thank everyone for doing their part. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Commissioner Deloach?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I do want to acknowledge Mayor Pro Tem Boyette with his outstanding festive attire this evening. Good job on that, sir. We're not going to be here until January, so I do want to make sure that I wish everyone a Merry Christmas. Please stay warm and stay safe. Obviously, this year is going to look a lot different, so make sure that you do what you can to make the most of it. I would encourage you to support local businesses, support local causes, donate as you're able, and help others as best you can. And I do want to welcome our new town employees. Exciting, to say the least, to see our family grow here. Finally, tonight, I want to echo a little bit of what Commissioner Joyner said, but I'll tell you, I'm not concerned about what your beliefs are in science, medicine, or religion, and it makes no difference what your political affiliation is to me. I'm concerned about what I call the hit-home factor. Everyone knows someone that has been tremendously impacted by COVID. Everyone. So please don't make the comparison to the flu. Again, you know someone directly or indirectly that has been critically impacted by COVID. I don't think you can honestly say that about the flu. Some obviously are impacted more than others, but there are tragedies taking place every single day in the lives of people right here in our community. Whether it is physical, mental, or financial, it is happening, and again, right here in Wendell. I was elected to be a leader in this community, and no, a leader is not always agreeable, and a leader certainly isn't quiet in times of need. I'm simply asking that you start or continue being a part of the solution. Do not be a part of the problem. I talk all the time at meetings about passion, but now is the time for you to show compassion. In December of 2020, you can do that by wearing a mask. You can do that by keeping your distance between yourself and others. You can do that by washing your hands, and you can even stay home if necessary. Please know that you can still support local businesses by doing all of these things. It happens every single day right here in Wendell. We do all sorts of things all day, every day that could save a life. Why do some folks struggle with such simple tasks that could stop the spread? It's not too late to do your part and work together. And please remember that our children are watching. They pay attention to how we handle adversity. They learn from each of us, and they learn from each of you. So please just consider that when you choose your message and how you can respectfully deliver it. That's all, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Lutz?
Thank you very much, Commissioner Deloach and Commissioner Joyner. I will just echo y'all's sentiments. Well said from both of you guys. This is our last meeting of the year of 2020. I just reflect on our first meeting of the year to our last meeting and how things have been so different and unexpected from anything we could have potentially planned for the year. I would just like to extend my appreciation and thanks to everyone from the standpoint of starting with just the town staff, town employees who have worked hard this year under extremely strange times to continue to promote this town, continue to allow the town to grow, to continue to be flexible in their job roles, and what they're asked to do and what they're and how they do it. And also to the citizens of the town, to the businesses of the town. You know, this is as a business owner, this was a tough year, a strange year, and I think so many of our businesses continue to adapt and modify. We had some great new ones open this year, and so despite such a year, we had some really great positive things for this town, and I think that speaks to the support that people have for this town, the love people have for this town. And I just, as we go into the holiday season, into the new year, I just encourage everyone to continue to be good neighbors, good supporters of each other, good supporters of businesses, good supporters of those who are in need. Look out for neighbors, look out for each other. Just continue to respect each other, no matter what your beliefs are, your thoughts are, your opinions are, because we're all here in Wendell together, and we're all here to make this town as best as it can be. And so I hope everybody has a good holiday season, a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll see you in January.
Commissioner Boyette?
Thank you, Mayor. I've said my piece about this pandemic before, and I can't say anything any more eloquently than my three colleagues have already said, and so I'll leave it at that. I agree with everything they said. If we accomplish anything, it's because we stand on the shoulders of giants. And I wouldn't have had the courage to wear a Santa hat to a town board meeting if in years past I hadn't seen Carol Hennett wear her lighted blinking reindeer antlers to the December commissioner meetings. I think what we all need right now is a little bit of joy in our lives, and I just encourage everybody to look forward to the future do what's best for you and your family. And I just want to wish everybody happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and we'll see you in January.
Thank you. Well, this is our last meeting in 2020. I feel like we ought to all stand up and cheer. As always, I always do, I want to thank our town staff for their efforts during really trying times. They daily, I see examples of them going above and beyond, and I certainly appreciate that, and you make all of our jobs easier by the way that you do yours. This has been a very tough year, unlike any I've ever experienced. Someone sent me a real kind email the other day about it, and I replied that I felt like, you know, in my life, I'm a fixer. I'm a problem solver and a fixer, and I feel like I haven't been able to fix this. And I'm sure that a lot of our town staff feels the same way. And this board, it's been very hard, very, very hard. We've navigated a lot of challenges, and frankly, we're not done yet. And so tonight, I just want to ask you, please, to make good decisions about how you spend the next days and weeks with your families. I know you want to see them. I haven't seen my sisters since like February 12th, and they both live about an hour in each direction. So normally I would have seen them numerous times. So we're all making hard decisions, and I'm just going to beg you to please, I'm begging for you to please make good decisions. In addition to the obvious health challenges, this past year has been really hard. There have been cultural challenges, emotional challenges, educational challenges, financial challenges, social and political challenges. I feel like that I've been sitting by and watching everybody be at everybody's throats about every single thing. I mean, I have literally seen someone say, it looks like it's going to rain, and someone just get furious and, no, it's not, and here's why, and it's because you're wearing a mask, and no, it's not, it's because, and it just, conversations are deteriorating, and we are better than that, and I really hope that we can do better starting next year. I feel like we've really been tested in ways we could not have ever prepared for. None of us ever a year ago would have ever thought we were going to face what we have this past year. And people and their emotions are raw, and we're not at our best right now. But, and this is a huge but, we have an opportunity to change that and improve our perspective. It's my hope that during the holiday season that people will take an opportunity and a moment to reflect on this past year. I know you'd rather forget it and not think about it, but I think that we need to, and we need to reflect on our behaviors, and we need to remember to be kind to one another, and we need to give each other the benefit of the doubt in occasions, and quit being so judgmental of one another for all kinds of things. It's my hope that if you take a look at the past year and reflect on it, that mixed in with the challenges, that you will see some bright spots that have happened in your lives. I think that most of us have had some bright spots. A lot of people have had some very bad times, and they continue. But there have been some bright spots, and I think that we need to grab those things and cling on to them during the holiday season especially, and let the holiday be a respite, because I really believe that as a society and as a town and community here in Wendell, we need that. I hope that we can emerge in 2021 ready to face the challenges that it's going to bring, because it's not over yet, but we're hoping that there's some solutions on the horizon. So I just hope that you'll take a moment and think, and you know what I'm saying. I want to wish you and your families and loved ones a wonderful holiday season, and a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I am looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, we're adjourned.